Hello and welcome to Samsung. In this video, I wanted to talk about how an access point goes about discovering a controller. And you'll realize that this procedure is designed in such a way that you can actually deploy them with minimum configuration. So it's mostly plug and play. It does require some help from the network, but if you understand how this whole process works, it's extremely simple to deploy these in any environment where you may have hundreds of APs, or you may have thousands of APs, and it becomes very easy with the procedure described here for the access point to discover a controller. So let's get started. So once the access one, the fresh out of the box with absolutely no configuration, all APs are configured to do DHCP. So the first thing that happens is when you plug the access point in your network, it goes ahead and does a DHCP lookup. Obviously, it tries to get an IP address from the network. And if your DHCP server supports the if it's if you're using any DHCP server, I mean if it's a high-end DHCP server, if it's in your network, it does support DHCP options, and one of the options is option 138. So you can specify that option 138, and that's an IP address. The value of that option is an IP address, and the IP address would be the IP address of the AP management interface of the controller. So, that's the easiest thing to do. So you can probably configure the DHCP servers with option 138, and the DHCP option 138, the AP can easily discover it at least knows the IP address of the controller. The next thing, let's say if the DHCP doesn't support option 138, the next thing it does a DNS lookup. And the DNS lookup is because when you do a DHCP, you get the DNS server IP address, and you do a DNS lookup. An SRV query is sent out, and the SRV query has capwap-control.v.com. So if you configure your local DNS server to resolve capwap-control.v.com, then to the AP management address, that's another way to discover the controller. The next step is then it circles back and it does a layer 2 broadcast and multicast. And so if the controller is in the same layer 2 domain as the access points, then this would be true for a smaller deployment. Then you don't have to do any of these things, and the controller is automatically discovered by the access point. So unless the AP is on a very older version of firmware, for the most part, after version 2.x, the AP started doing the discovery using broadcast and multicast. So if you have if you're for sure that the access point does do is above 2.x, then the broadcast and multicast would also work. So that's how it goes about discovering the controller. Once the AP is discovered, or the controller is discovered, it maintains a list of the controllers. And this is very important to understand. See, when the AP gets discovered, when the controller gets discovered and it comes up and the AP comes up on the controller, you may have an access point assigned to an AP group. And I talked about this when I was discussing access point groups, that when you're doing, let's say, let's pick up this access point group, and if it becomes part of the access point group, it takes the profile from the configuration from the access point group. So it may be part of the access point group, which says that now your discovery type is whatever the controller tells you, which is APC referral, and your primary controller is 10.10.50.1, your secondary controller is 10.10.10.1. So right out of the box, the access point is doing DHCP, DNS, and layer 2. The moment you assign it to the DHCP, the AP group, it takes the values from the AP group, and that's what it does. Then let's say it comes up on the AP group, and it says it knows that the primary controller was 10.10.50.1 and the secondary is 10.10.10.1, and now the next time it reboots, it looks at the last connected controller. So whatever was the last connected controller, it tries and sends it doesn't go through that whole process again. It just goes and sends the discovery request to the last connected controller. If that is not available, then it goes to the controller next on the list. That is not available, it goes through the whole process over and over again that we just described. So that's something which is very important to understand. I also have a capture of an access point, and this is where it did not discover the station, or the station, sorry, access point did not discover the controller, but this was just a Wireshark from the doing a port mirroring on the AP port to see what it actually does. So you can see that it does the DHCP, finishes the DHCP process, then it sends a broadcast to the discovery request broadcast to in the layer 2 domain. Then it sends a multicast here. You can see it sends a 224.0.1.240. If the controller was part of that same broadcast layer 2 domain, it would have responded to either a broadcast or multicast. Or in case of multicast, if you have your router configured to send multicast across networks, then multicast helps. So broadcast helps with layer 2. Multicast can even go across layer 3 domains and find the controller. And then you have you can see that it also does the access point went to the DNS server looking for this particular SRV, so capapp-control.v.com domain. So you can there are many different ways in which it finds the controller. So this is a pretty good example here right through the eyes. But for the most part, to keep it simple, if it's a big enterprise, we've done enterprises before, and we normally configure the DHCP server with the option 138, and after that it is the AP group value that populates into the access point, and that's how it knows what your primary and secondary or tertiary controller is. All right, so that explains the concept of AP discovery. I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you.